Join us now on Flickr at flickr.com/groups/art-of-photography.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Art of Photography. My name is Ted Forbes, and today I want to talk a little bit more about Holga Projects. Now, if you're not familiar with what we're doing this summer with our current state of Holga Projects, go check out the last episode. The gist and the small breakdown is you can think of it kind of like a chain letter for photography. And what we're doing is we have a website, so if you go to theartofphotography.tv, you'll see all the details for the summer project. And basically all you need to do is sign up and be willing to participate. And I've got 10 Holgas that I'm sending around the world. All 10 are out right now, and they're in all kinds of crazy places. I've got a Holga in New Zealand, I've got one in Australia, I've got one in the Netherlands, I've got 2 in England. Anyway, the list goes on. I've got several in the United States right now. And the whole concept is to do a community project with viewers of the show. And if you'd like to participate and you want more details, check out the last episode. But I want to expand on that a little bit today, and I promise we're going to spend the entire summer talking about Holgas, but I want to get the point across as to why we're doing this project and what the most important part of it is. Also note that I do an audio podcast, some of you know, with my friend Wade Griffith. It's not an audio version of this podcast. It's a completely different podcast. I've had some confusion on that. And it gives us a vehicle to talk longer on these topics. The video show generally we keep to 15 minutes and under for various reasons, mainly due to bandwidth. But the audio show, we expand on that some more. And I talked a lot about this week of some of the philosophy behind doing a Holga Projects and what that entails. But there are 2 main reasons. First of all, it's just a basic camera with very limited controls. And the whole idea is to get you to not worry about what's on the camera, but to start thinking a little deeper about elements of photography, such as composition. There's no zoom lens on here, there's no autofocus. So you got to think about those things. What do you want the photo to look like? You can't just zoom around until you find an interesting angle, let's say in a landscape, and shoot. It requires you to actually move your feet, get the better angle, get the light better, look for something interesting that's maybe not as obvious. So I think the Holgas are really great in that sense. It's just to practice and get your chops and get your thinking in kind of a different mindset. I think it's a really wonderful thing. The other thing and I think this is probably even more important about the Holga Projects, is I wanted to do something that was community based. Okay, and by that I mean, when I started the podcast, you start a podcast and you get a little bit successful and you're looking at your stats and stuff. But the more meaningful moments to me in the 3 years that I've done this cast is when I've actually met people who view the show, whether I run into them or we did we did a Art of Photography meetup in London last year, and those kinds of things where you actually meet people and realize that you have common interests and bonds and you're all into photography and interesting things to share with one another, I think is really important. And I know this isn't ideal, but it's a step closer to that. I think it's also really cool to get everybody around the world involved in a project that relates to this podcast. Just a couple things I want to talk about Holga Projects. First off, it's nice to be a victim of your own success, and I think I've certainly witnessed that in the last month here since we announced these first. And the deal is this, when I sent the first tweet out and put the podcast out, we had 100 responses within 24 hours, which was amazing. I've got 10 cameras ready to send them out. To date, I've got about 500 people that are interested in doing this, and we're going to culminate in a book and try some things along the way. But a couple things. First of all, I don't think we're going to restrict ourselves to just the summer on this. I'm going to let it go as long as it needs to go. So, if it needs to go another 8 months or something like that, then we'll allow for that. A couple things I didn't consider is, one, how long it takes just to mail a camera across the world first class. And sometimes from the US, it can take up to 2 weeks for people to get them. Another nice problem to have is a lot of our audience in Europe take very nice vacations and know how to live their lives and are gone for about 5 weeks out of the summer, which is totally cool, but I just didn't put that into perspective when we planned the project. So I'm trying to plan around vacations and stuff, but it makes it a little harder to get to people. Like I said, 500 is a very ambitious number to try to get to everybody, but don't let that discourage you from signing up. You never know. I am grouping people regionally, so sometimes, like for instance, right now I need one more in Japan, and so I've got 2. If I get one more to sign up, then great, I can put a set there, so I can bump you up in the order as far as things go like that. It's nice to be able to do this. Now, I promise I really rarely ever do this. The other problem we've had with the success is the expense we've kind of incurred, and by we I mean me and the mouse in my pocket, have incurred in terms of setting up the projects. There are cameras to buy. Right now I have 10. I'd really like to get 20 more so I can have more being sent out. With each camera I send out, there's postage I have to absorb with it, plus there's film, which isn't cheap, and there's processing for color, and then chemicals if I'm doing the black and white here. So anyway, it's a lot to kind of of take in. I do have a donate button, and of course it's not required that you donate to participate in the project. I'll still find a way to make this happen either way. But if you would like to consider donating, it would be greatly appreciated. And I've had about 10 or 20 people somewhere in there give me some donations so far, and it's really helped. It's gone towards film processing, postage, all that wonderful stuff. I have some good ideas on Flickr. People have talked about the possibility of selling raffle tickets or something, and I could give the cameras away at the end of the project. Problem with that, which is a great idea, and we could certainly do that. I'm totally open to that. But the problem is I got to get from point A to point B first, and that's point C. It's after the whole projects are over, so we'll see how that works. So anyway, some more stuff. We're still working on the parameters of the project, how we can expand it, how we can make it better. Another thing that I want to encourage people to do is that if you have a Holga already, start your own Holga group. You can either shoot a roll of film yourself and send it to me, or you can find a couple other people to share the camera with, pass it along, get everybody to fill up the exposures on the roll, send it to me. I'll do the processing for you, and we'll certainly include you on the website and in the book and all that good stuff. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. I highly would encourage that. Actually, it'll help get through the 500 a little easier. The other deal too is, and I want to show you a couple different kinds of Holgas today. I've had some people offer some other cheap plastic cameras, and I'm kind of keeping it Holgas just to keep a consistency with everybody. The whole idea is one camera with many voices, so that's kind of one way of thinking about it. If you do want to purchase a Holga, the ones that I purchased for the project I got off of Amazon. They're just stock Holgas, nothing fancy. In fact, that's the idea, is you don't want to get caught up in the camera. It's just to show the voices of the people using the camera. And a couple fancy Holgas that you can do if you're so inclined is, this is the Holga that I personally shoot on, and it's an older one that's been modified by Randy at Holga Mods. And so if you check out holgamods.com, it's got a couple things that are really nice. Like if you want to do long exposures at night, it has I've got a cable release, and you can actually do that on a stock Holga now. This is just an older one, so it's got some fancy stuff. The lens has been modified so you can focus a little closer in, and I put a step ring on there so you can use neutral density filters if you need to darken the subject a little bit. So that's one idea. A couple others that are really pretty interesting. This was a gift that was given to me a while back. This is one crazy camera. This is a stereo Holga, which actually, there's a couple ways you can use this. I typically, because of the fact, if you're going to share online, you have to have a stereo viewer to look at this right. And so since it's a stereo Holga, typically what I'll do is use the lens cap, and I'll take 2 pictures and then advance. And so I just shoot it side by side, but I think this is a totally awesome, fun camera to have. They're not real cheap, but they are totally cool. And then finally, the other thing that you can do is get, and this is another one from Randy at Holga Mods, but this is a Pinhole Gun, and the lens has been removed, and it's now a pinhole camera. It has a wider angle to it, and this one actually has a waist level finder in it, so you look down to focus and shoot and all that stuff. And then the one other thing I know this is kind of a hodgepodge episode here, and we've been talking a lot about a lot of stuff. And I've mentioned this magazine on the show before. This is one that comes out of England. It's called Black and White Photography. And I pulled this off the newsstand yesterday because there's some things that relate to our project in it. And there's a wonderful interview in here with Michael Kenna. And I have covered Michael Kenna on the podcast before. And he is an incredible photographer, British guy. And he shoots these just really awesome landscapes. And I'm not going to, do the painful, let's show some images without repositioning the camera thing. But what you can take away from Kenna's work, now he's not shooting on a Holga, he's shooting on a very expensive Hasselblad, but just the sense of composition, the simplicity to it, the minimal aspects of it, the point of view, the angle, all those kinds of things. These are really wonderful things to consider when you're thinking about photography and what you're going to do with the Holgas. So anyway, those are just a couple things to bear in mind. We're going to get back into more of a regular routine. I want to get back into talking about black and white photography, some digital stuff in the next month here, but I wanted to spend one more day today talking about Holga Projects because I think it's really important. I'm really excited. If you've got any suggestions or anything, feel free to jump on the website, send me an email, let me know, sign up if you haven't. And once again, I could really appreciate donations that come in on this because like I said, it's gotten a little more expensive than I thought it would be originally. But anyway, once again, we'll see you next time. This has been The Art of Photography, and thank you for watching.